6-2. Ever since the beginning of time, man has had a fascination with fire, and fortunately has learned how to respect it. On occasion, though, fire has been known to take on a life of its own, allowing nothing to get into its path. It's this all-too-often temper tantrum that created a new breed of warrior, the volunteer firefighter. This organization was probably first known as the Bucket Brigade, as townspeople worked side by side, in force, to fight a common enemy. Today, despite the fact that there are thousands of paid firefighters throughout the nation, there are still some 900,000 volunteer firefighters who man some 20,000 volunteer fire departments throughout the United States.
Hello, I'm Dick Cunningham, Director of Public Information for East Windsor Volunteer Fire Company number 2. For those of you who used to live in a big city, you'd probably be surprised to see what it looks like inside any typical volunteer firehouse at any hour of any given day. Take a look.
That's right, there's not a soul here, not even a Dalmatian.
So you may ask, what happens if there's a fire? Well, we'll show you in this dramatization.
East Windsor Police Operator 7? Yes, ma'am. What's the address? Anybody in the house right now? Very good, ma'am. We'll get somebody right out there. Station 46, District 2 Rescue, 28 Spruce Street, on a structure fire. Repeating, Station 46, District 2 Rescue, structure fire, 28 Spruce Street, 1545, Operator 7, KNCR, center line, going to TAC 2.
Firefighters who are in the township hear the alarm of fire broadcast over the pagers they carry and respond directly to the firehouse. There, they quickly don turnout gear and man the apparatus. This is the headquarters of East Windsor Volunteer Fire Company number 2, a township located in central New Jersey, just off Interchange 8 of the New Jersey Turnpike. Incorporated in 1977, it has a roster of active and inactive members, a fire police unit, a department photographer, chaplain, and ladies auxiliary. Bill Askinstead has been chief for 11 years.
What would you say to somebody who is toying with the idea of joining your ranks?
I would say that they need to think about it carefully. They need to discuss it with their family because it does involve a lot of time. I think they need to come down and try it out, see what it's all about, and if they still like it after that, then I think they should pursue it.
How much time are we talking about?
Initially, you're talking about a great deal of time. There's about 6 months of education. There's ongoing training. There's ongoing work, just like any other business, from an administrative end, from a maintenance end. And then there's the alarms, which can be very busy at one time and sometimes not so busy.
Is it dangerous?
It's considered the most dangerous occupation, but if you're well trained and you're supplied with the best equipment, which we pride ourselves on, and it's done under control, it can be safe. Like anything else, fire is an uncertainty, and there's always the possibility of something going wrong, explosions, things of that nature, but it's rare, and the training that we give generally protects our people. We have a very, very low injury rate.
How much of firefighting and fire prevention is common sense?
A lot of it's common sense. Firefighting in itself is a science, and much of it is a lot different than what people think. People think of it as just spraying water at a fire, and that's how the fire goes out. But there's a scientific approach of controlling thermal balances, controlling air currents, things of that nature that people really don't understand. Fire prevention, a lot of it is common sense. Not to overload electrical circuits, not to play with matches, keeping just good maintenance habits.
Because of East Windsor's location, most of the workforce commutes between either New York City or Philadelphia, each about 45 miles away.
As a result, getting manpower for daytime fire calls is always a challenge. Hence, attracting new members is an ongoing priority.
We never have enough. We always seem like we have 3 times as much to do as we have people to do it. How many would we like? We'd like to have 100. Right now we're about 30. There's certainly no way that we'd want to limit it because we always have things to do. And obviously there's a lot of projects we'd like to do that we can't do because we just don't have enough people.
What's the worst time for the tones to go off as far as manpower?
Probably in the middle of the workday, during the work week, between the hours of about 9 to 5, 9 to 6, when most of the volunteers are out of town on their jobs. It's largely a commuter development, so many of our firefighters commute back and forth to New York, so by the time they get home, we have a very limited force during the day. Fortunately, we have a number of township employees, which the township is gracious enough to release, and they respond, but we're still at minimal levels during the day.
So you employ mutual aid during the day?
Absolutely. We work normally with 2 or 3 different fire companies, depending on the nature of the alarm, and it's a mutual assistance type of thing because everybody's pretty much in that same situation. Daytimes, everybody's short.
Education is also an important element in fire prevention. Each year during Fire Prevention Week, officials conduct demonstrations at area schools, talking about the importance of smoke detectors, what to do in case of a fire in the home, how to use fire extinguishers, and the dangers of playing with matches. Then, of course, it's what all have been waiting for, an opportunity for everybody to enjoy a ride in Company 2's huge aerial scope. Always a big hit with the kids and with teachers, too. When we come back, we'll take a first-hand look at some of the fires these men have fought, the training they go through, and a chat with some of the guys who tell us why they do this in the first place. Stay with us.
If you can't use force to stop a friend from drinking and driving,
Hop in.
use your
Hey,
wits.
This is your car.
Yeah.
My brother had the same car. He never let me drive it, though.
No?
So you must have had me in mind when you bought this. Wait till he hears you've got the same one, and you let me drive it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Take the keys, call a cab, take a stand. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Ed Rush is East Windsor Company 2's captain, and he's also in charge of today's training exercise.
We're going to extend hose lines, and we're going to do some tower operations. I want you to look sharp today. We need this basic work, okay, to keep up our performance at the level we have now. But when a firefighter starts in the fire company, we send them to a basic fire academy, and in that they learn all the basics, such as putting up ladders, the proper way to foot ladders, which would be so they don't slide out from underneath the firefighter that's climbing them, proper ways to climb ladders, proper ways to deal with equipment on roofs, all things that you don't normally have in your regular day in, day out life. We also teach different hose operations. What I mean by that is how to enter buildings properly and safely that are engulfed in flames, how to work on car fires, which are very dangerous types of fires, how to approach them, all the way down to how to run hose operations on small fires, brush fires, and so on. So the training involved in that is very strict that we do with the ladder and hose operations. Hooking up a hydrant, a lot of people take for granted that it's very simple to hook up to a hydrant. Sure, when you have the training, it is. There's certain lines that we teach to connect to a hydrant. The way we put the personnel at the hydrants, the way we put personnel at the pumpers. Once we establish a supply from a hydrant, then the water is then transferred into the pumper. And from the pumper, we increase the pressure to where we need it, such as hand lines or aerial scope devices, ladder towers, and so on. We run the ladder tower operations for a myriad of reasons. One is ventilation of roofs, for rescue operations, and so on. Again, each aspect of the fire company is kind of specialized in its training.
If you had the opportunity to not convince, but to suggest to a friend or a colleague, a neighbor, that this is the place to be, why would you recommend it?
I personally think it's great. I mean, there's nothing else I can say about the fire company. It's done wonders for my life. It causes some problems once in a while at home, you know, because of the time commitments. But that's all up to the individual. We have lower time commitments, such as if you just want to come down and just be a firefighter. But we also offer programs to become officers, which require much more time. But it's great. I mean, being a fireman, I think, is the best thing I could have ever done.
Hey, what are the rewards?
Well, the rewards of actually saving somebody's property and knowing how to go into a fire and not destroy the whole building so the person has something to salvage. Going into people's houses that you see that have memories all over the place, pictures and paintings and so on. That might be all they have in their whole life. To be able to save that for those people in such a horrible situation, that's just fantastic.
So you don't subscribe to surround and drown?
No. Surround and drown is an old way. That's how you save the foundations. We go into the fire, we go into the heart of the fire and put it out. And we do it as quickly as possible.
Fighting fires isn't the only thing that firefighters are called to do. They also respond to automobile accidents, using sophisticated rescue equipment to remove motorists from their often mangled cars. And in a related effort, they're called out to provide landing zones, or LZs, for state police and medevac helicopters, protecting the perimeter during takeoffs and landings. The bright yellow apparatus also makes the LZ easy for the chopper to spot from the air during the day, lighting the area with spotlights and flares at night. Fortunately, major structure fires don't hit East Windsor all that often. But when they do, they hit with a vengeance. Such was the case here at the Hampton Arms apartment complex. In the early morning hours of Saturday, May 19th, 1990, a water leak triggered a gas leak, which caused a huge explosion. When the fire was put out, 10 apartments had just disappeared. Miraculously, no one was seriously injured. 11 months later, 2 families were left homeless by this suspicious fire in the newly renovated Avon Drive condominiums. It was thought to have been started by someone who threw lighted matches onto outside bushes. The fire raced up the front of the structure. Again, no one was seriously injured. Fire also destroyed this ranch-style home on a rainy Friday afternoon on Daniel Street in East Windsor. This blaze, which is thought to have started in the basement, left a family of 12 homeless. And an accidentally dropped hand light into a puddle of gasoline is blamed for this blaze that destroyed an auto body shop and a half dozen of the cars that were undergoing repairs inside. Most fire damage, however, is usually kept to a minimum if firefighters are alerted in time. One source predicts that unattended fires actually double in size every 5 minutes. At the familiar Mom's Peppermill restaurant on Route 33 in East Windsor, a kitchen fire managed to extend to the roof, but was quickly extinguished.
So the question remains, why do volunteers race into burning buildings at risk to life and limb and for no pay whatsoever? Are they crazy?
To some degree, they're not in their right minds. Firefighters have been described as the crazy ones running towards a hazard, towards a fire, towards a problem when everybody else is running from it. That's what separates firefighters from other people that do benevolent acts such as doctors and rescue squads and whatnot. None of them put themselves at personal risk as do the firefighters. Why one does it, who knows? I took it as a challenge to see if I could be the best that there was, the best that I could be. And the reason I did it was to test myself and my own abilities. And in the process, the byproduct was a service to the community.
I always sat back and wondered why the guys do it, and now I know. It's not the money, it's not anything. It's just the self-gratification of helping people and doing the best that you can. There's no price on it. Guys would do it if they got paid or if they didn't. It's just a special breed.
And you feel safe when you go into a building knowing the guy behind you is going to watch out for you?
Yes, I do. You learn a lot of things with these guys. You know your men, and there is fear there, but everybody knows what everybody's going to do, and it makes it more easier.
There's 2 reasons. One is I'm helping other people, and there is no other feeling in the world like being able to help a person who's in danger or helping save property or even the person's pet, a little girl's kitten. Coming out and handing that girl her kitten when she thought the kitten was dead, it's the greatest feeling in the world. The other reason may sound strange, but it's the rush. I work with juvenile delinquents. I do some counseling with them, and a lot of them have done drugs. And I tried to explain to them that the rush of adrenaline that you get when you get a fire call and you truly love working on the fire company is better than any drug they'll ever take.
I think the main reason a lot of people don't join the volunteer service is because they have no idea what it's about. A lot of people around here assume that we're paid firefighters, which we are not. We do everything on our own time. We would have a better selection of people if more people would just come down to see what we're about instead of just wondering. So many people say, I would love to be a firefighter, but they just don't come down.
Our doors are always open. We're always here, or there's almost always someone here, and if people are interested, they're welcome to come down. We'll always show them around, explain what we're doing. Even families who want to come down and just let the kids see the trucks, we get a lot of pleasure just out of that alone. And serving the public is what we do, and we get a lot of pleasure out of it.
I wanted to help the community in some way, and this was the easiest way I found to do it. And I got interested in firefighting and stayed with it.
What satisfaction do you get out of it?
Personal satisfaction, knowing I did a job the best I could and try to help somebody.
And you're following in Dad's footsteps?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Oh, well, I grew up at the firehouse, and I want to help the community also.
Every time we go out there, we're putting our lives on the line for the community for free. And that's one of the biggest things, especially with East Windsor Township, because we're fully volunteer. And there's 2 fire companies in East Windsor, and they're both volunteer, total volunteer. No one receives any pay for anything. So every time we go out there, we stand a chance at putting our life on the line. We don't have a whole lot of major fires, but we do have our fair share. And not only that, but there's other things. Every time you come out, it could be an auto accident, it could be a car fire, it could be a house fire, it could be a number of things. It could be a crash, an explosion. And like I said, we've had our fair share here in East Windsor. We've had everything that you could think of happen in East Windsor, from explosions to fires to auto accidents, and it's a pretty busy town, and it's continuously growing because we're fairly young. Our fire company here is only 23 years old, so we're still young and growing.
What do you think of your men?
I think they're the best people in the world. The fire company and the fire departments all over are families. They're the closest group of friends that you have, and they're like family. They're there for each other when you need them. And despite the bickering that goes on in any other organization, and we have it in the fire department too, when it's time to do our job or when it's time for somebody to need something, we're together.
What kind of self-satisfaction, if that's the word, do you get out of this?
I get a tremendous amount of pleasure out of it. I've been doing it for a long time. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the smiles on the kids when we go out to fire prevention. I enjoy the appreciation of the public when we do a good job putting out a fire, or perhaps save somebody in a motor vehicle accident or something like that. There's a lot of reward to it. There's nothing quite as satisfying as maybe handing a kid a doll that you pulled out of a fire and see the smile that comes on their face.
As Chief Askenstead said earlier, there are some 30-odd members of East Windsor Volunteer Fire Company number 2. And in the past few minutes, we've heard from only a few. But their comments are generally representative of why they do what they do. There's also a fun side to a volunteer fire company when we come back.
Shiny fire engines, the latest and the best, the pride and joy of any fire department. Keeping the shiny equipment in tip-top shape, both on the inside and on the outside. I mean, what's a parade without fire engines? Get out of here. And what's a barrel fight without hot dogs, beer, and a bunch of good door prizes? Fire companies from all over the state and even further get together once a year for this traditional fun-filled event. The object is simple. One fire company gets on one side, another on the other, and in tug-of-war fashion, each tries to control and push a suspended barrel to their opponent's side. The winners walk with the trophies.
So that's the story, an albeit short story, about a bunch of people who in East Windsor, New Jersey, spend much of their time in the volunteer fire service. If this type of activity interests you, or if you'd like more information, give us a call. If you live in East Windsor, on the east side of town, call Company 2 at 443-5130. On the west side of town, call Company 1 at 448-5487. In Hightstown, call 448-1245 or your local fire department. You might just feel good about it. Oh, and don't forget to check the battery in your smoke detector. It might be dead. Please, help keep these doors closed. I'm Dick Cunningham.